Okay, so the Luminaries, the Luminary. What's the book called? Shit, mind blank. I'll put it in the title for sure. Great book. It was okay book. It was a lot of fun. Fine book. I was engaged for a few different reasons. I was kind of discovering some things about how mystery novels work, and this was a very good piece to work on in that aspect. And then she's just a good writer, and there's a couple reasons. And I just kind of figured out the biggest one for me. I kept going back to this book because of what you might say is like the atmosphere or the vibe or something like that. Sorry, I haven't even looked at the camera on yet. It's early. But I can't let it rest at that. I don't just be like, oh, I like this thing, like it's an obnoxiously intense habit. That whenever I have like a feeling of, oh, I like this thing, like I can figure out why. What else do I like that's like it? How does the author do this thing that I like? A lot of fun. And in this case, it was that atmospheric vibe. And it really, now, I might alienate all my thousands of listeners a little bit, but it was sort of like a D&D feel, or even a video game RPG feel. Like if you play a video game RPG, specifically kind of older era ones, or specifically top-down ones, like classic style ones. But you've got like kind of a small village, and you're going from person to person, and you're, in this case, solving a mystery, lots of dialogue, and kind of action scenes in between at times. That's just what it felt like, and that's basically what it was. But there was something about the style and the device uses that made it really feel like that, and it really felt engaging. And I kept on wanting to go back, one, to enjoy it, two, to figure out why. And what I realized was that every 2 to 10 sentences, she puts in by she I mean the author, of course, she puts in a object interaction. And usually we have an object interaction arc through a conversation. Now, the easiest example is the cigar, right? That happens at least once, if not more. Once I can specifically remember when the banker was talking. The cigar, different things happen to the cigar. It goes out, it almost burns him. He throws it, he cocks it a certain way. And she's very short things. And what's good about this is it zones you in first person, right? And so this is when I'm teaching people about dungeon mastering, or I'm rather more specifically, I'm dungeon mastering. I'm thinking about bringing their kind of the bird's eye view down into. And I realized as I was doing this, and in writing as well, this happens. I'm not a good writer, but it's easy to use these devices at least. Or when you're DMing and you're speaking, or what the best example might just be verbally telling a story. You can zoom them down from the third eye into the first person by using objects that they can imagine seeing with their eyes from certain points of view. Cigars, or feeling, or body feeling. You know what that cigar feels like. You can imagine it. If not first person, a very close third person view. And a lot of these are action oriented as well. So when you have movement and stuff like that, if you can describe how the shoulder feels when throwing a punch, and it's pretty accurate, you can really zoom that person down into the throw of the punch, as opposed to have them imagining throwing a punch from afar. And she does this, and she does it very well. And one thing that I think is a wonderful trick that she does that makes it very well is she doesn't make it obvious that this object is a metaphor for the person's mind state most of the time. Occasionally it is, and I assume occasionally I think it is, and it's probably coincidence, vice versa as well. Like maybe it is and I don't see it. But it's often just about the environment, just about putting you in the scene. And while the things do indicate mind states, like the way he holds cigarettes and plays with it at every few sentences of dialogue, interspersed in there is going to tell us about his mind state. But it's not going to really do anything but enhance what the dialogue is already saying. Such a heavy dialogue book, and also the narrator tells us what's going on in people's minds sometimes. Some books do that, some books don't. That the object things are just really enhancers. Maybe occasionally identifiers to mental states, but usually just they enhance. But they don't do it obviously. It's not like, and she uses it so much, she couldn't, like, sci-fi books do this so much, right? It's just like, oh, the object is obviously a reference for his, what was it? I was reading The Sparrow today, and it was like, his death was gap-toothed. Yeah, and it was just like a metaphor for his style of life or the location he was in. Yeah, so I really like that. I've been thinking a lot about that. And definitely, if I were to incorporate this into writing that I did, which is not very much, I mean, I would definitely like to. I think it's very clever.